Oh boy, day 5 of the MLB season is always very interesting in terms of DFS because we have all the back end rotation starters going at once, and it leads to just chaos, essentially, in terms of builds. Do you pay up for the limited, decent ish pitchers who you don't really get excited about, anyways, or do you go cheap, accept that chaos is happening, hope to get some upside with cheap guys like Heel? And go big bats? I don't know. We'll talk about it throughout this video. But before we begin, welcome back to FSi DFS. I'm McKinley412. Hope you're all having a wonderful start to this MLB season. Yeah, if you're new to us, we'd love to have you over here at FSi. We do provide DFS content in a variety of sports, but this is what our MLB sheet looks like. You can see we provide cash cores, GPP cores on DraftKings and Fanduel. We cover tiers, weather, stacks, pitching, showdowns, all of it. So if you want to come join us in our Discord, link is down in the description below. Head to our website. You can get all the pricing for everything. And yeah, we've had a lot of new faces. It's great seeing the chat being active all day long. It's fun. Love to have you. Let's dive in. So these rankings, they are going to change. I'll be honest, these are going to change probably before lock. I do record this the night before, and I do want a little bit more research, but this is like surface level looking where I think things are kind of going to be trending. This is a slate, as I've mentioned, that does not have a lot of great pitching. It's very obvious. Floor is going to be pretty tough to come by, and it's kind of making me want to lean a little bit more into upside and that ceiling, and this is what McKenzie is going to be able to provide us. McKenzie is a pitcher who has high strikeout rate, a career in the big leagues. He's close to like a 27% strikeout rate, which is very decent for these pitchers on this slate. However, he has a walk rate that's also creeping up towards double digits, and that's very alarming. His floor is low, his ceiling is high. He does have a pretty decent matchup going up against Seattle, though. Seattle, I know it's only been 4 games, but in all 4 games, they struggled offensively against those Boston pitchers. And Boston doesn't really have the strongest of rotations that we've ever seen. So Seattle, they're averaging just over 2 runs per game. McKenzie, Seattle does have strikeouts in their lineup, up and down, for sure. So McKenzie, I think he could have a ceiling game. It's just, how much do we trust him? Houck, right below him, I do have him ranked second. I like his floor better. He's looked great through all of spring training, and he's got a great matchup. He's facing off against Oakland. He's got that ballpark boost for pitchers going into Oakland and getting out of Fenway, really. Houck, he really struggles against left-handed bats, and like Oakland can provide 3, maybe even 4 left-handed bats in their lineup, but I just don't see the talent level combined with the park factor to really be too scared about that. So I can understand Houck being over McKenzie. I do think that he has a little bit of a better floor. McKenzie a little bit higher ceiling. Paxton, Olsen, they're fine. Like, I really think that these 4, there is a very large gap between these 4 and the rest of the crew. You can see I have like this gap here because I don't really enjoy this mid-tier at all. Like medium salary, like with Manea, Boyle, Waldron, Hancock's over there. There's just nothing super exciting about. So I think I'm either going to be sticking with these top 4 guys, or I'm going to be going down into the cheap tier, or maybe taking one of each. And really that's going to determine what bats you're going to be selecting. Like if you go double cheap here, you can really jam in all those top bats. You can get those 6K guys from Dallas and from the Yankees that you really want to be jamming in. You're not going to be able to get them if you're putting in McKenzie and you're putting in Tanner Houck. But cheap here, Heel, he has induced a crazy amount of swinging strikes, which is ultimately what we're hoping for from our pitchers. Like strikeout rate is great, but like swinging strikes just solidify that strikeout rate a little bit more. And he was able to, mow batters down throughout the course of spring. Again, it's spring training. Some of the rosters that he was facing off against were minor league lineups, and even not the greatest of minor league lineups either. So take that with a grain of salt, but he did look very strong. I don't mind him there. Francis and Blanco, honestly, I think I want to change this. I want to put Blanco over Francis, partially due to pricing. I'll take an extra 500, especially when you're not really sure what you're going to be getting from either of them. But Houston, they're a decent favorite. They're at home. They're 0-4 this season. I think they figure it out. I think they get the win here against Toronto. Finally get that first dub on the season. Again, mid-tier, not really too interested in. Definitely not interested in any of these guys. Hancock, very limited in the pros. I think he had like 3 appearances last year, but he's mainly just been pitching in the Double-A. He's never really made this massive jump, and then when he's had a rough spring, not interested in there. I do really like Cleveland. Gibson, he can't strike out anybody. Nelson, he also can't strike out anybody when he's facing off against the Dodgers. I just don't want to play anybody against the Dodgers at this point. So, turning towards the bats, Yankees, I do have them as number 1. And they're going to be going up against Nelson. Just mentioned, Nelson, he doesn't really strike out anybody. He's going to be inducing a whole lot of contact. Juan Soto would definitely be the start of if you're doing the Yankees stack. No surprise there. You did not need me to tell you that. Rizzo, he's been looking pretty well. Verdugo, he's doing solid too. All the lefties, essentially. Torres, yep, like him there as well. With the Yankees, and another reason why I do like them so much is, one, they struggle with striking out a lot. It really limits their offensive production. However, how do you relieve that? You go up against a guy like Nelson who can't really strike out too many guys. I will say, word of caution, Nelson looked really strong. His strikeout rate was through the roof during spring. Did he turn it around? Did he change something up during the offseason? I'm not sure. However, take spring with a grain of salt. As always, I do really like the Yankees here. But again, I might be changing these rankings around a little bit because honestly, it's just so murky. There's nobody I'm having a great confidence in terms of teams. But Yankees, you could definitely jam them in there. Before I dive into the other guys, value play, St. Louis going up against Waldron. Victor Scott, if he's in 2K, he's a stolen base machine. He finally got his first major league hit. I believe it was a double here this evening, last night, if you're watching this video. But if he gets on the base pass, he's going to be running. He's Asturi Ruiz, essentially with even more speed. So I think Victor Scott had 94 stolen bases in the minors last year, so he's going to be taking off. He's already got a stolen base in that one time that he did make it to first base. He just went. So min price, 2K. He's going to be opening up some salary for you. Other teams I like, Cleveland, and I like their bats. Cleveland has attempted the most stolen bases so far this season. They're facing off against Hancock. I don't have a lot of confidence in him at all. The issue with Cleveland is that they just don't have a whole lot of home run upside. They're kind of the team that plays the small ball. We're going to be hitting singles and doubles and then stealing bases and playing that kind of style. They don't have too many, big bombers in their lineup, but definitely, Josh Naylor, he's capable of doing that for sure. Jimenez, Quant, they've had some very, very solid offensive production so far on the season. They played Oakland. Anybody's going to be having some strong offensive production against Oakland. But still, I really do like both of these guys here. And I like the salary price points of all of them as well. Like right in the mid-tier, you're not really breaking bank at all. You're able to, if you are going with that higher route of like McKenzie and Houck, Paxton, Olsen, going there, you can get Cleveland pretty comfortably, in my opinion. So we'll just leave this min-price Scott here. We'll go Naylor, Jimenez. We'll throw Quan in there as well. Jose Ramirez, he's always in play. If you're doing a Cleveland stack. Let's see here. Let's see what our salary is going to look like. We'll go, if we think Cleveland's going to do so well, probably means that McKenzie's going to be in good line for the win. So we'll go them, and then we'll go with Tanner Houck here. Give us a little floor. 4.2K remaining. Love it. So Cleveland, hey, even just talking this out here, maybe I bumped them up a little bit more just because of that price point, because they are so much cheaper than the Yankees. Dodgers, they're always going to be a top play, essentially. You don't need to watch these videos to figure that out. And then San Diego, they're going to be facing off. There we go. Facing off against Gibson. Gibson's another guy. He can chew up innings, and that's kind of really what I think St. Louis is looking for here, is that he's a guy who can go 5-6 innings. but he's really reliant on, some good BABIP to go his way. He doesn't really strike out many guys at all, so I do think that San Diego bats are certainly in play. We have seen what upside they are capable of, and I love all of, like, this dual eligibility, like position eligibility that they do have. Allows you to really mix and match kind of how you want to do the builds and get a little bit different. Jackson Merrill, still too cheap, 3.4K. He needs to be higher. He's going to see his salary climb throughout the course of the season, but there's really not many people that I would go against. Cronenworth, nice lefty-righty, 3.9K. I like that. Issue with San Diego is the ballpark that they play in just gets rid of all potential upside. However, they did just score 13 on San Francisco, so what do I know? Over in GPP, Houston, looking at the Vegas odds, this Houston game has the second highest run total, and Houston is like the second biggest favorite as well. So they actually have a pretty high implied run total. Vegas really likes their offense in this spot going up against Francis. I'm not as convinced, but still, I think that, well, obviously, Vegas knows way more than I do. But I think they're going to be a nice, intriguing GPP spot. Maybe they don't see as much ownership just because they are 0-4 to start the season here. But regardless, I like them there. Boston, nice GPP. Going up against Oakland. The Oakland pitcher, there we go. Boyle. So Boyle, he had 3 starts at the end of last season. He did really well, very well. The scouting report on Boyle essentially is high upside, but also a very high walk rate. So he could blow up. He could do very well. He could also blow up, just kind of like a McKenzie, essentially. But I do think that means that, Boston is going to be certainly in play with that boomer bust upside kind of pitcher on the other side. Seattle, exact same thing as what I just said. They're facing off against McKenzie. High upside, but also can walk a lot of guys for sure. I think Heel could be potentially popular here, which is why I do think that Arizona is certainly in play for an RGPP as well. And then some cheap guys, leftovers. I don't really have much to say about any of these teams. I'm definitely going to be sticking more over here. So that's kind of where the slate breaks down. Victor Scott, he's going to be opening up salary. Cleveland, a lot of mid-tier guys, allows you to get these upper price pitchers. But if you do want to go down to cheaper pitchers, Blanco, Heel, probably my 2 favorite. I would maybe take Heel just because of how many swinging strikes he's been able to induce so far this season. And then by doing that and having like a Victor Scott, you're able to get those top bats from the Yankees. You're able to get the top bats from the Dodgers or Houston or whatever you want. Okay, so good luck in your contest as always. Again, we have these videos coming out Monday through Friday all throughout the course of the season. I'm not sure who's doing it tomorrow yet. Could be myself, could be Mega Ruler. Come back, find out. Good luck in your contest as always, and we'll see you tomorrow.